reason why I wanted to make this video was really because myself and Aline, we were talking about relationships, like something specific, but we won't get into that.
Yes.
But we were talking about relationships. We were talking about sex specifically, and we've talked about sex before. But the reason why this came up was because we were talking about how sometimes in relationships, if you're not careful, your desire for your partner can be skewed. And what I mean by that is, let's say in the past you struggled with pornography, or in the past just you were very just promiscuous, or you just were very explorative maybe, yeah. And so there was no like safeguards. Some people really struggle with that, right? And so they didn't have, some people don't have or did not have safeguards. And so when you get married, I think some people think it's okay to still explore without those safeguards, if that makes sense. And my example, let's say that I struggled with pornography and I'm married, and so I'm not necessarily watching porn anymore, but I might come across a video on social media and I'm aroused, and then I go home and have sex with my partner, right? I think the conversation we were having is, number one, like what does God think about that? Or how does,
you know, all of this, what we're talking about is in a context of, like, let's say you're a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. And how the conversation like came up was, we were talking about trying to understand what's the source of your desires.
Yeah.
And so the thing with a marriage is that you're committed to this one person, so you're just having a sexual relationship with this one person. But sometimes if you're not careful, your sexual desires might not be coming from this one person.
Right.
It might not be that your wife or your husband is the person, be the source of the sexual desires that you have, even though they are the what you call, I don't want to say benefactors, but even though they are the ones that
you have experience with.
Yeah, with you, who you express it. Mm-hmm. Because you're married, it might be that they are not the source. And then
what's wrong with that?
What we were discussing is
someone might ask, what's wrong with that?
The issue with that is that gives leeway for, well, this is in my opinion. I think if the desires are coming from external sources, it now opens up the possibility that you're more susceptible to expressing it outside of your marriage, especially if your desires are coming from outside of your marriage. And what I mean by that is, Shanika was saying, let's say you're on social media and you're constantly on social media, you're soaking in all of these images. You find yourself, you see in videos of, you know, just illicit videos like softcore porn and, you know, just very suggestive videos. And by consuming that kind of content throughout the day, you get sexually aroused. And then because you're married, right, and this is something you might not necessarily think about it, like think about it, but you get aroused and you go home, and naturally you're gonna try and, you know, express all of that like with your partner. But ask yourself the question, where did this come from? Is this desire that I have right now for sex or whatever, is it like natural, like it just come up naturally, or is it because I've been feeding myself these images throughout the day? And the thing is, why you have to be careful is that you don't want to get trapped into thinking that sourcing these stimulus or the stimuli outside of your marriage is right, simply because you only express it in your marriage. So I go out there, I'm looking at naked women all day, scrolling on different TikTok, I'm watching everything, and bro, I'm seeing all of these girls, and then because of all of this that's going on in my mind, I've seen all of this, I'm now sexually charged. I know I come home and I'm like, you know, baby, I love you, and you know, I'm so attracted to you, blah blah. But really and truly, it's not nothing to do with your partner, bro. Because more than
your
like
partner is just the expression of what
your partner is just the expression, and
of
if you
what's in
don't
your
think
mind.
about it consciously, the fact that you're not having sex with different people, you tell yourself that you're in the right, but sometimes you're not, because the source of your desire is not in your marriage. And then what happens now is that I think you're more susceptible to doing some sort of foolishness if you keep up that, because all you're basically going to be using your partner for is just, boy, me can't go have sex with all these people me see online will actually turn me up, but you know I'm married, so I come home, and because we only have sex with my wife or my husband, in a case for a lady, then it's okay.
Right.
Personally, I don't think it is, but I think it's one of those things that maybe slip through the cracks,
right,
if you don't stop and actually think and ask yourself, what is the source of this desire? In terms of, like, if you could look at it scripturally, and I'm not trying to like extrapolate something from a Bible verse that's not there, but you know when James talk about how you're tempted when you're enticed,
drawn away by your own
and then
lust.
you get drawn away by your own lusts, right? And then when lust conceive, it bring forth sin, and then when sin conceive, it bring forth death. So if you take that analogy, or you take that progression of being enticed, drawn away with your own lust, your lust bring forth sin. Now, the sin that your lust bring forth, it might not necessarily be a sin in the case where you're having sex outside of your marriage, because one, you're married. But you have to ask yourself, what was the source of this lust? What was the source of this feeling that I'm having? This sexual desire that I'm having now, is it because like I'm just having that sexual moment, whatever, and then naturally no, that would be expressed like in the marriage with your spouse or your whatever, or is it because of the things that I've been consuming, the things that I've been looking at, listening? And I'm not saying that, because what some people say is, what's wrong if you, I mean, this is a whole nother thing, but some people would say, like, you know, they watch different things and listen different things to get them in the vibe, which that to me kind of, it's a bit, but not fight nobody, but it's a bit left, because again, why, you know, the outside stimulus, the outside,
the purpose, I mean, ideally, not ideally, but even as it pertains to, the Bible talks about you sitting in your thoughts, right? So the idea that you have to go outside your marriage for a stimulus is, to me, a call for concern. It's not like a conversation. It's not like I'm saying, okay, Odine, I'm actually struggling. It's not that, okay, it's not like I'm saying, Odine, I don't find you as attractive, or I'm struggling to be turned on by you, or there's something that you're doing that I'm not really, I can't put my finger on it. We're just not vibing or connecting. I don't know the word vibing, but we're not coming together the way I would like to. That, to me, presenting that argument is, to me, a healthier way of what I'm looking for?
Working through that.
Yeah, that's the best way to me.
Instead of just saying, boy, make me watch some stuff and
or you going away by yourself and watching it, and then you said, coming into the marriage and kind of reenacting what's already been built up in your mind.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And the reason why this came up, just very, very shortly, we were talking about just our personal lives, and as I said, like, I'm not gonna go into details. Nobody cheated. Nobody was.
Bro,
I just feel like I need.
Bro.
No, that's why I'm saying that. Nobody cheated. There was no infidelity, but we were just thinking about our personal lives, and we were thinking about, like, what triggers or what influences what we want in our marriage.
Yeah, let me be more specific. The question is, what is the source of even some of the curiosity that you might have?
Right.
Even that's you see, like this, what we're talking about, you know, probably it's like a PhD level thinking about marriage and like sex and sex in marriage. And why I say that is because if you know, let me go as far as to say, if the Holy Spirit doesn't bring these things to your mind, you really would never think about it.
Yeah.
Because you would just assume that because you're married and you have these thoughts and feelings and desires, that it's all good and okay. But you have to really stop and ask, what is the source? Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
This curiosity that I have.
Where is the root of it?
This new
inclination
thing that we want to try.
Right.
This thing that, and then because, as I'm saying, it's because you're married now, the tendency is to say you're married so you're good.
I think it's an important topic to talk about, because I feel that a lot of people, and that's kind of the point of these videos, I think they are to just bring awareness to things that I think people struggle with, that people don't necessarily talk about, that they might want to talk about but don't have the space or the opportunity to talk to someone about it. So this hopefully will spark a conversation with your partner.
And the question is, where is our desire coming from?
Right. That's the question that God brought into our hearts, that we have to kind of question, and this is why we're sharing it, because we think it's an important point to bring across.
You always ask that. I think you should always ask that question. Yeah. Where's my desire coming from for this? Like, why do I feel like I want to do this? And why is this thing so, like, if I don't do this, I don't feel like, you know, we do anything. Like, where's that coming from? If you can trace that back to something outside of the bounds of your salvation and your Christianity, more than likely it is not coming from God, and it's not coming from, you know, something where you and your partner naturally make. Yeah. And in my opinion, I think that can lead to like something devastating. It might not be now. It might be decades down, it might be years down. And if your marriage is important to you, I think none of those things that iffy will come from them desires that are left. I don't think you should play with them at all. Yeah. Personally.